allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Two o'clock now. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from the meeting on the 23rd?
Yes.
I'll have a motion to,
Approve them?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes
I'll second it.
of August 23rd. All those in favor?
Aye.
We don't have to do a roll call and something like that.
No, because we're not, this isn't a Zoom meeting.
Okay.
Yep.
First item on the agenda is, or second item, is a public hearing on the application for variance from section 32-87 setbacks and section 32-89 dimension tables, Newmarket zoning ordinance requested by Jason and Sarah Mansfield to permit the construction of a 20 by 28 single-car garage with a 5-foot rear setback from Sewell Farm, the Sewell Farm lift station parcel, where 30 feet is required, and an 18-foot side yard variance that allows the garage to be 12 feet from the edge of the Lady Slipper Drive right-of-way on the east side of the property. The property is located at 32 Lady Slipper Drive, tax map R4, lot 136, R2 zone. The full application is available for review at the town offices. With that, I'll open it up to the Mansfields, if they're here, and talk about it. Oh, by the way, you're entitled to have a full board of 5 members here. We're just 4, so you need 3 affirmative votes to get this passed. So if you want to continue, you're more than welcome, but you're entitled to have 5 members on board. So hopefully somebody will come in, one of the other members.
Okay, should I wait a few minutes, or should I just go ahead and get started?
I don't know, they're not this late, so
Okay, so they may not arrive.
they may not arrive.
Let's go ahead and get started. I'll review. I do have some electronic supplemental information, if that's I can share. I don't know what the procedure is to.
Do you have a thumb drive?
I do.
The computer is right over there.
And will it start the TV up on its own?
I hope so. I thought there was a password.
Would IT downstairs know?
There should be a password
It
written
says
up
chamber
right there.
Yep.
Oh, while we're at it, you've got all the certified mails returned?
Yes, I
and
did.
everything. We're all in
Yep,
business that way.
everything is here, documented. You,
Now, do I need to connect, turn this on?
I don't know. Is the TV on?
I thought there was, isn't there a remote that goes with that?
Yeah, there are a couple of remotes here. None of them are Vizio remotes. This is the Vizio TV.
I don't think you, oh, gosh.
Is AT downstairs?
Hell, let's not go up in hell.
I will have to call you.
No?
Let's start unplugging the wires.
I'm pretty sure you should just be able to click on your.
Oh,
There's a power button on the lower. There's something there. It's
Oh
not
wow,
easy
this
to
little
see.
guy.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's hidden. Cool. What do you got?
It works.
well, we're,
It was easier than we thought.
it's on.
Okay.
It's hot.
Now, do you know how to
There we
get the
go.
screen going, Hillary?
Okay, so, is,
Pressed a button that turned it on anyway in the back.
okay.
There would be an input button on on a remote. These are both NEC remotes, so I don't think they're for that television.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's something that can switch back here.
What's that right there?
There's a remote here.
Is that a Vizio?
Let me have a look. Oh, there's just, are the batteries in here? Clear off. Very interesting. Neither of those worked, huh?
We didn't try them. You want the remotes on the table?
No more remotes.
Yeah, we got them. There we go.
There you go.
Ah, you're up.
Hey, Hillary.
You're hired.
All right, sit right there.
Alright.
We found the remote that works.
So I
It's
don't
the
know
one
if
that's
that-
right up
If
there.
me standing here is in your way, if it is, I can certainly move.
Thank you.
So we'll just get into it. So, this is, I guess to describe it, not necessarily as a.
Since
thank
no
you.
one's over there?
Okay. As a reapplication, I applied last year, for a variance and was granted one. But however, in short time, we found out there were some errors associated with that. And we wanted to make some changes along the way. So this is the purpose of this, I guess, reapplication in a sense. Okay. So in front of you is the proposal of a new garage, a 20 by 28 garage in this location of the, let's call it the southeast corner of the lot. And if it would be helpful, I can sort of maybe take a few minutes and run down, where we started last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is what's important is that the size of the garage that he wants to build is larger than what was proposed last time for which the variance was granted. Plus the location has changed slightly, so that's why he's back here before us.
Yeah, the location hasn't changed, but however, in discovery, now that I have I had the lot surveyed, I was informed of a 14-foot right-of-way along the Lady Slipper street side here that originally when I put the application in, there's a few errors here, and my responsibility. The original pin that I was measuring off in the lower corner of this monument that was right here, and the original application, I was using the one that was visibly in the corner. However, that wasn't at the actual property pin that split it between my property and 30 Lady Slipper, which is known as Lot 61. It was actually, after I had it surveyed by a professional, it was about 15 to 20 feet deeper in. So that led to a calculation error originally because I was measuring off this pin. This pin actually just delineates the property behind my property, which is owned by the lift station, and then the rest of it on the other side is the conservation land. So I was measuring off that and measuring 125 feet for the tax map, and that brought me to basically the edge of the pavement. So I made the assumption that that was the actual right-of-way where the pavement stopped. Okay. So that was something that was discovered, Nick, as we were going forward with the build and the project, because just to sort of summarize, in November I was approved for a garage in this location. The first error I made, and I didn't realize it till we were getting ready to do the build, is that on the original application, we can go back a little further, which was I think late August or September of last year, I showed the garage in this back east corner.
Yeah.
And I just put arbitrary dimensions on it at that time, not knowing that that was critical. Okay. And at that time, the abutters had some concerns about having a garage over there, which I was sympathetic to. And I believe the board made a recommendation, why don't you just move it closer to the road on this side? And I said, that's a good idea, so let's do that. So we had a subsequent meeting. That meeting was postponed due to Zoom issues and that kind of thing, and so I think that may have happened a couple times. So at this point, I made a proposal where I was asking for a variance of 5 feet off the sewage lift station lot, where normally 30 feet is required, which is shown right here. And I didn't list, because I assumed that there was a 30-foot setback here, and because of where the location of the garage is, where I want to put it, it is 32 feet off the edge of the road, going back to the issue where I made the mistake there. So that's what I applied for last time, and it was approved pending I can get Rick Molaski to approve it, get a driveway permit, and I was successful in doing that as well. So the variance was approved. So just to tell the story, so I want this is what happened. So in March of 2021, I went down to Town Hall and applied for a building permit, where I provide a sketch of what the drawing dimension was, and on that sketch I showed it as 16 by 24. Going back to the error I made on the zoning application, when it was set back here, it was shown as 14 by 20. And then when I did the new application, I didn't change the dimensions. I just simply cut and paste and didn't pay attention. So that on the actual, what was approved for the variance showed 14 by 20. However, I went and applied for a building permit, and in that application I put 16 by 24. I went down to follow up with Mike Hoffman at the time to say, hey, I haven't, what's the status of this? I don't know how this process works. He said, yeah, it should be fine. This is probably maybe late March or April. There was some new software that was being implemented that was I guess having some technical issues, but he said, yeah, just come back and check in a week or two. And I'm like, okay. And I came back and checked. I don't know when it was, but at this point, Mike Hoffman had retired, and they were in the process of trying to find an interim building inspector. I'm like, okay, but do I have a building permit? And it was implied that, if Mike said you're okay, you're okay. And I'm like, okay, so I waited a few months. I went down in August and I met Peter, and I said, can I have a copy of something to prove that I have a building permit? And he provided that to me, and it was building permit 21. And I'm like, okay. And at that point, when we were starting to do some excavating in my yard, because I had a permit, I felt that was okay to go for 16 by 24. I did ask Mike if it would be possible to expand the dimensions, not knowing what the rules were. And he had some concerns with that, so he started digging into the application, and that's where the problem was detected. He was like, hey, wait a minute, your variance says 14 by 20. Well, I said, well, okay, on the building permit I put that, but I didn't realize that it made that carryover error. And at the same time, when I was speaking with Peter, he informed me that the 30-foot offset is not from the road, it's from the right-of-way, which is represented by this pin here. There is an actual pin. Now, before when I was looking at this initially, there wasn't a pin there. I had a surveyor come out with a metal detector. They couldn't find it, so they had to do they had to actually place a pin monument there.
Do the math.
Do the math, right. So at that point, if it's ultimately, the setback would be, obviously 30 feet from the right-of-way, and that right-of-way is 14 feet from the road, so then it would be a total, I think, of 44 feet within. So based on this, where we are right now, what I've learned, asking for just maintain what was approved before, the 5-foot setback on the Sewell Farms lift station lot, and a 12-foot setback from the existing right-of-way. So that's what I'm applying for. So I know there's a lot of things going on here, and I can understand how it can be complicated and confusing, but that's the application.
Can I just say that I worked very closely with Mr. Mansfield, and I can verify and attest to everything he's saying, because we worked through the application to make sure that it was clear and made sense and followed the regulations. So I can attest to this,
Thank you
the
for saying
accuracy of his information.
All right. else you wanna?
I do have some photos of the existing one, if that's interesting to the group, I can share that, but if you have any questions.
That being said, generally at this point, when you've said what you need to say, we open it up to the public for public comment. So at this point, I'll open it up to the public. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak against or for, or? Not hearing anything. If there's anybody out in TV land, come on in. So, not hearing any stampede to comment one way or another, I'll close the public input session and open it up to the board for discussion and any questions they may have of Mr. Mansfield. So basically, you didn't change anything from your, other than correct the dimensional
Bigger
areas?
size, and just the new, where just asking for the variance off the road.
But in response to the variance criteria, it's all the same information as before?
Correct, nothing else has changed, correct.
Okay.
What was the issue with the hydrant? I forget, there was
Yeah.
some discussion about
The
that.
hydrant is, and that's kind of how I've represented it here, it's
Yeah.
probably more closer into here. The initial, when I met with Mr. Malasky, he came out, he came up to the site for me, and we looked around for a while, and he was initially a little concerned about where the location of the hydrant is, in relation to where a potential driveway was. And, and he also had some concerns that he felt that the hydrant wasn't installed correctly, whoever installed it, because the standpipe was so high, and that's an issue. So he was kind of upset that they did that. So, at that point, what I did is I went to my same neighborhood, some additional homes out in Lady Slipper, and I think I might have some photos of them, and found some examples of other properties that have hydrants that are fairly close to the driveways. I mean, this is right in my neighborhood, 71 Lady Slipper. I casually measured that with a tape measure. I didn't want to intrude too much, but it was just under 6 feet. That's about 6 feet. And, I shared this information with Rick, and I said, hey, this is what I'm finding. So I agree to maintain the similar distance for if we're granted the permission for, the driveway and obviously the variance, we would maintain, keep the driveway, the edge of the driveway by the same amount of distance, which was 6 feet, and he was cool with that.
Was there also another driveway entrance?
There is another driveway entrance on the property, yes.
Yeah,
or on
and
the front.
was that a concern,
Not-
having two?
It wasn't a concern for Rick.
Okay.
He wanted to make sure that there was enough safe space around the hydrant. It did indicate it, when we spoke, verbally, he said that pipe should be underground, but he says it's a very difficult job to do that, and it would probably be easier just to fill around it. But it's very high.
Yeah.
I'd have to raise up my own
Yeah,
property.
yeah.
So it would probably need to be properly repaired, but, I'm like, if we can get a driveway permit and I can keep it far enough away, I think we'll be fine. And he agreed. That was his sentiment.
And the other question I had, as I looked at this, is one way you could not require a variance is simply to push that building in 30 feet. Is that correct?
Push.
He needs a 5-foot.
You'd still need one variance.
Well, you've already got the 5-foot variance. That was granted. And my question is, can you simply push that garage?
It's not the same variance.
I mean,
Pardon?
It's not the same variance application because it's a larger garage now, and that's a material difference.
Okay, but again, back to my other question, could you defer the variance onto the street by simply pushing it in 30 feet?
as far as pushing the entire
Yeah.
garage, it could. I think it would create some, first off, it would be sort of farther into the I guess the main central part of the backyard.
Yep.
It would look And speaking, and what I did, I spoke to all my neighbors about this personally. I said, when I saw them, I said, hey, this is what we're doing. And, you know, it was, you know, most people didn't really have a concern, but it was kind of the sense that if it's too far in, it looks a little non-standard. You know, if it's that far away from the road, in a sense. So that was, I mean, where this would be right now, it is 30, this edge of the foundation will be 32 feet from the pavement, let's call it, just for a point of reference, okay? So it would be, it's you know, it's a significant, you know, it's 30, from the road, it's not right on top of the road, it's 32 feet deep, so I felt that was a reasonable compromise. So I don't have a huge, you know, consume too much of the, of the yard. The expense of eventually adding a driveway to go back to it might be, you know, it might be high, and it would be more to maintain and all that stuff, so thought it would just be sensible to put it right at that location.
I understand.
Yep,
Thank you.
thank you.
Why don't you just add on to your garage?
I would love to add on, well, I mean, I'll say, yes, that would be.
Put
a
that
nice-
building right on the side and have it stick out down
Well,
4 feet.
we'd have to tie into the existing home, to do that, and we looked at that with my builder, and we initially assessed it, and we felt that, because of the grade issue, because of, you know, because there have to be so much land built up to support the foundation to match, because, and I do have some photos that kind of show the elevation change. There'd have to be landscaping, trees would have to be removed, the existing driveway would have to be brought up. Long story short, he said it's gonna be well into the 6 figures to do something like that. And so that's really the kind of hardship. Now, just putting it at a different elevation along here, we still have, and to be truthful, I'd still need a variance right here, because I would encroach on this 30-foot setback
Right.
from that, so.
Yeah.
I could do it, it would be a substantial cost to me.
Okay.
And I still would need a variance.
Okay.
They probably could have put 5 or 6 feet of fill in the back of it.
Yep.
Yeah, and then remove trees and all that.
Well, you're not here for that, so, but I just asked the question.
Okay, I'm just giving you my
No,
assessment.
I realized, but
Yep.
I know you're not here for that.
I do have photos if you wanna see it.
Go ahead.
I had an old picture in the file and showed arborvitae's screening
Yes,
between your property and the wastewater, or, I'm sorry, the pump station.
yes,
Whose property were they on?
they're on my property.
And who took them down?
I took them out.
So I have a sneaking suspicion that might have been a requirement at the time. The plan went in, that there would be some screening. I did notice that when looking at the plans.
Yeah, I don't know. You mean when the lot, how home was built?
Yes.
To sort of block the pump station?
Yep.
Maybe, and I couldn't, I haven't been able to find those kind of records that indicate it.
We don't have landscaping plans, but
Of course.
just do as an observation, because
Yeah.
we do require buffers.
The one nice thing about if I am able to put this garage here, it'll be a nice visual barrier of the
Yep.
sewage lift station,
I was just
also
gonna say.
sound,
Yep.
and probably occasional, sometimes there's some odors that come from that. It's not all the time, but it might help push it up into the air. So I think, you know, that'll be appealing for property value as well.
Just curious. Thank you.
So, yeah, that's a good point.
Oftentimes when they build the pump station, they put arborvitae there just as a buffer when they build the stations, but
So, right, might have been a design thing.
It was
during construction.
definitely feeding the deer for a long time.
And they do get big.
Yes, they do.
all right. Any more discussion? James, are we all set?
I got no questions, I'm
Al?
good, yeah.
All set, thank you.
No.
We ready to take a vote? So
Sure.
Entertain a motion.
I move to approve the application as submitted.
Can we tie it to the previous approval that we gave?
Yeah, I didn't bring a
It's okay,
folder
we just have to make
tonight.
references, make that part of the finding of fact.
Actually, I do have it here. I apologize. It was September 28th, 2020. The decision was made October 18th, 2020.
Okay.
So you can.
2021.
No, the last variance was issued a year ago
Wow.
on October 19th, 2020.
I like that.
Today is the
Gotcha.
18th.
Gotcha.
You're gonna do the
Gotcha.
20th?
Gotcha.
So we can
Gotcha.
reference that, and I did have the folder.
We're
I
gonna meet
had
with
to
him,
state.
what, no
I
hearing.
just wanna close the loop, because we have a finding of fact in there, we've got a finding of fact here, so enter that as part of the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I'll second it. Let's take a vote. James?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. You have your variance.
Thank you, everyone.
Don't go away
See?
evading your skills here.
Put my name on that. It should be all set.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I mean, with the applicant.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is public hearing on an application for a variance from section 32-155 C4 Wetlands Protection Overlay District, requested by Robert and Natalie Hassel to permit the expansion of an existing deck 10 by 16 with a 10 by 12 addition. The proposed deck expansion will infringe upon a 25-foot wide, no-cut, no disturbance wetlands buffer adjacent to poorly drained hydraulic soils along the easterly side of the property. The encroachment is an area of approximately 25 square feet. The property is located at 6 Honeycomb Way, lot, tax map 3. Do you have the lot number? It's not on here.
Lot
19.
23
It's down
through
here,
19.
R3,
Okay.
2319. Thank you, Al.
Zone M4. The full application is available to view under the October 18th, 2021 zoning board agenda on the town's website and in the zoning office at the town hall during normal business hours. With that, you have the floor.
Hi.
Yes.
All right, good evening, Chairman and members of the Newmarket zoning board. My name is Robert Hassel, and I, along with my wife Natalie, are the homeowners of the property located at 6 Honeycomb Way, and come before the board requesting a variance for an expansion of our really small deck. As many know, others may not, our home is located in the Rockingham Golf LLC subdivision built by the fine builders of timber companies. The wetlands designated by a reputable Dorset land survey company and with many thoughtful meetings with the Newmarket planning board. In this development, it was back some time ago when I spoke with Mike Hoffman, who was the code enforcement officer, building inspector, then, and was told that all I would need is a building permit. As time moves on, I finally made an appointment with the building inspector and was informed that Mike Hoffman is that better? Had retired, and that Mr. Peter Rowell is now the interim building inspector, and much to my dismay, was informed that this expansion would impact the setback to the wetlands. No permit would be issued until I would need a variance from the ZBA related to the zoning regulations, section 32-155 C4, relating to poorly drained soils. Therefore, I am requesting a variance from section 32-155 C4 for a vertical expansion of a 10 by 12 to my existing deck of 132 square feet with 2 horizontal supporting posts that will be located within the setback. one approximately 2 feet and a corner post 5 feet, thus creating no other disturbance to the wetlands. The actual impact to the wetlands are the installation of the 2 supporting posts of 2-3 square feet in the wetlands. And with the deck expansion over the setback would be less than 25 square feet, creating no impact to the wetlands thereby, resulting in no harm to the fragile wetlands. My abutting neighbors of 4 and 8 Honeycomb Way have written letters in support of this expansion. If granted, the variance strict compliance within and to the fragile wetlands will be addressed prior to any construction of this expanded deck. If not any questions at this time, I will address the 5-pronged criteria needed to obtain a variance to the zoning board. Ready? Okay, criteria number 1, granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest. As the public interest is in preserving the wetlands and as the proposed vertical deck will be supported by 2 posts, which one will be just within the setback and the corner post 5 foot into the setback, there will be no adverse effect to the wetlands. Criterion number 2, if the variance were granted, the spirit of the audience would be observed because the spirit of the audience will be observed throughout, though thoughtful development that preserves and protects our natural resources, reflecting that I, as the property owner, has maintained the wetland setback area with plantings of plants and lawn enhancing the protection of the wetlands. Criteria number 3, granting the variance would do substantial justice because granting would do substantial justice for the expanded vertical deck, as it would allow me to better enjoy the natural beauty, ecologically integrity, promoting a place for us and visitors to enjoy while maintaining and preserving the wetlands as in the vision statement of the master plan. How am I doing? Excuse my voice, it's somehow or another it went downhill this week. Criteria number 4, if the variance were granted, the values of the surrounding properties would not be diminished. As proposed and presented with letters of the abutting owners, the proposed deck would not be injurious to adjacent properties, would not cause a diminution of area property values, and would not constitute a nuisance or a danger to the health, safety, and general welfare of the community. And last but not least, criteria number 5, unnecessary hardship. Owing to special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area, denial of the variance would result in unnecessary hardship because no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purpose of the ordinance provision and the specific application of that provision to the property because hardship is related to the strange configuration of the wetland setback, as the present deck is not in the setback and as the wetlands line runs in a curved manner and is within 5 feet of the structure at its furthest point and making any reasonable use of the land. The operative use is reasonable, a word that has been central to the development of the common law. The lot in this case has a strange configuration due to the wetland setback and is a reasonable use of the property for the deck expansion. And if you have any questions, you right ahead and ask me.
As with the previous individual, if there's anyone out in there in the audience who would like to speak either for or against this project, we will open up the public input section and see if there's anyone that has comments on this.
Just briefly,
Yes, would you give us your name and address?
yep, Stanley Chamalis, 25 Honeycomb Way.
Okay.
I'm across the street from Bob and down the street. As I understand the presentation, what he's looking for is 2 spots about that big to hold the vertical post that will hold up his deck. And that much encroachment is, in my opinion, of course, I'm not a conservation guy, but it doesn't look like the impact is significant. So, the fact that he has already communicated with his neighbors and they've responded in the affirmative, leads me to feel, in my personal opinion, that this should go forward.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no one else lining up to speak, we'll close the public input section and open it up to the board for questions. Al, Wayne,
I don't have any problem with it. I agree with this gentleman here that, first of all, it's not in the wetlands, it's in the setback, so, and it's minimal. And the 2 posts, I don't see a
well,
problem.
it's not just the 2 I mean, it's the deck itself too.
Well, the deck, yeah.
Airspace counts. I really don't have anything to add to it, so,
Seems very reasonable to me.
Yep.
I need a motion to proceed.
I will make a motion to approve, let me get there. I'll make a motion to approve the addition of the porch which extends into the setback. It's not very articulate, but I think that's,
And to include the application as our finding of fact.
and to include the application as finding in fact.
What the chairman said.
He said. We got it.
All right.
I seconded it.
There we go, we got a second. All right, let's do the roll call.
Aye.
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 Aye. Happy deck building.
Aye, thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Still got a vacancy on the board?
Yeah, we do.
Hey, if you wanna join the fun, we do have a vacancy on the board.
Don't ask me twice.
I thank you, my wife thanks you, and my next door neighbor thanks you.
And the mosquitoes will thank you too, I'm certain.
Oh, no, I'll take care of those. Thank you, everyone, appreciate it.
All right. So, does anybody got any old business to bring up?
No, sir.
New business?
No.
We'll get you a letter.
Should I, pick up the permit tomorrow at your office?
I will have a letter for you, but it takes a couple of days to get that drafting sent out, but yes,
Thank you, Mary.
definitely. Thank you.
So, motion to adjourn is in order.
Make
Yes.
motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.